We are the keepers of the flame, the sacred order. Let the ceremony begin.
And today, Faithful Acolytes, we take a look at this. Our ceremonial sauce comes courtesy of Roger Dams of Burn Your Tongue. Cleverly not so hidden in the Quilted Bear in the Newgate Mall in Ogden, Utah. We raise our flames to Roger. The hallowed shelves of Burn Your Tongue now hold over 700 sauces, making Burn Your Tongue one of the largest sauce purveyors anywhere. If you're a chili head, you must make the pilgrimage. You can also find Roger on Facebook at the link in the description below. And what this is from Prescribed Burn Sauces, which is an interesting sort of way that they're approaching this. Not so much the vertical writing, but the idea that they're treating it like a pharmacy, whereas a prescribed burn is usually something that involves actual fire. So it doesn't really involve the medical industry too much. So that's an interesting idea. This is the high pulp hot sauce, and you can see we've got something, and this is actually a sticker, so they didn't design the fluid ounces into the label. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the label design for this, other than to say it is not what I would consider one of the better ones. I would probably make a number of changes to this, but it does have a sort of uniqueness angle to it. I presume this is meant to be another white ball similar to this that they just put the sticker over, but I don't know. Maybe this is going to be something they're going to integrate. I'm not entirely sure. So, as I mentioned in the written review, we have two of my favorite peppers right there, the cayenne and the Scotch bonnet. So I'm likely predisposed to like this sauce. We also have rice vinegar and then just another vinegar, which I'm assuming is a white vinegar. We have water, we have garlic, we have the aforementioned Scotch bonnet, we have salt, we have red bell peppers, we have acetic acid, and pineapple. So there's a lot of fairly acidic elements to this. And so high pulp, I believe, is a band. Yeah, high pulp is a band that I guess had a hand in this, possibly, or maybe this is a crossover sauce. I'm not entirely sure. The verbiage here is really odd, but high pulp also works in the context of not very strained in terms of the peppers. You can see there's a lot of bits and pieces in there. It is a fairly runny sauce. This is what I would characterize as more of a Cajun style. That's probably the thing it's closest to, although the sweet elements of it don't really appear in those sauces a whole ton. They're referencing honey in the verbiage. I don't see honey in the ingredients though, so very, very confusing bit of verbiage here. So label is, like I said, we'll just call it not great, and I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I would strongly consider redesigning it if I were them, but what's in the bottle, of course, is more important. And you can see it's got some chunky. There's the pulp business again. I call it more of a medium thick sauce. I'll tell you this, the integration of the garlic into this sauce is near magical. It is really, really taking this stuff over the top. I mean, the Scotch bonnet and the cayenne is good by itself, but we also see some black bits here in the sauce. Now, that I don't know what it is. There is not black pepper in this sauce, so this suggests to me some fire roasting. Here you can see another one. Suggests to me some fire roasting, although it doesn't reference that directly. So I'm not actually sure what these black particles are. We don't have a vague description of spices, just a blanket spices. So I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what the black bits are. I'm assuming a fire roasting type of thing, if I had to guess. But again, I don't actually know that. So very, very nice red-orange coloration here. Really, really pretty sauce. Visually, how it tastes, how it smells. I mean, the sauce is just excellent. And it flows fairly well, even with the chunky bits in there. It's not as thin or watery as, say, your normal Louisiana-style cayenne sauce, but it definitely is in that sort of vein, Cajun being an offshoot of that style. So, all right, let's get on into it. Right away, we get some sourness. Right away, we get both cayenne and a little bit of the Scotch bonnet in that wonderful blend. A little bit of a back end of the garlic. This is just a phenomenal sauce. This is another sauce that wound up on my list of sauce of the year candidates. And I wasn't expecting it. I honestly have barely opened this. You can see, I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's about half gone. So if you want to see where the ounces fall, I did a YouTube short. You'd have to look through my timeline to find it because I don't think I put it in a playlist yet. I don't think the YouTube has put it into a shorts category, at least not as of this filming. But anyway, I go through where the actual levels are in terms of ounces in a 5-ounce bottle. And I just mentioned that because this is, it's probably about the 50% point at this. And like I said, I barely opened it. I love this sauce. This is, definitely the best Cajun I've ever had. It was not quite something I was expecting. And it just has the pineapple adds some really, really interesting textures to it that I was not expecting. And, yeah, this is excellent. The garlic, I almost actually wish it was roasted. I wish it was a touch sweeter, but it is integrated extremely well here. I don't have any real complaints about this. A phenomenal entry. So I actually had more commentary course on this in the written review, and the link to that is in the description below if you want to check that out. But yeah, I was surprised actually by this sauce. I'm very, very, very pleased with it. So, I really like it on meats. I like it on pizza. It is one of the more flexible sauces I've had. But that's what happens when you have a really good tasting sauce. You could put it almost anywhere, and it might not always work, but it is always going to be enjoyable, which this one definitely is. So anyway, I have here. I was kind of surprised it took them this long to get around to this, but this is a prepared Kraft mac and cheese that comes frozen. This is just recently out. This is the Deluxe 4 cheese. And you can see there it is. And let's get a baseline. Obviously, if you buy it in the instant, that's one thing. But what I don't like about those cups is that they tend to be a little bit on the messy side. I like this easier. Even though this takes twice as long to actually prepare, this is way simpler for me to be doing. And obviously there's a lot more of it too. They definitely made the sauce way richer than the cups are. All right, so you can see now also why this is getting so low, you know, because I'm not shy about putting it on. I like this sauce a lot. It's really an excellent sauce. It's just got such intriguing grace notes to it. Fabulous. This is wonderful. Despite there being Scotch bonnet, so it is definitely in the heat range of like a Louisiana style cayenne or a Cajun sauce, which tend to be very low, very moderate. This is definitely one of the lower ones. Lots of bits of pepper in there. Lots of bits of seeds. It's always interesting to me throwing a Cajun on mac and cheese, because I'm used to a lot more of a. This had what? How many vinegars does this have? 2 vinegars, plus acetic acid, plus a pineapple, and still Louisiana style does for me a much better job of cutting through the richness of the sauce. I like this. I'm comparing and contrasting the differences. My preference with creamy sauces, though, is still and probably always will be just a straightforward Louisiana style cayenne sauce. So this, for me, makes a really good change of pace. And it definitely is delicious. No faults here, but my preference is this is fine for a change of pace, but my preference would be for the old standby. But this one is more flexible. Cajun does have flexibility to stuff. This one's thick enough and the vinegar is dialed down enough that you could put this on burgers. You know, you can put this obviously on like chicken and chicken strips, but this works well on pizza also. It's a little too thin for me to want to use it a lot, but I've been having a blast just playing around with this, just trying out different stuff. All right, so I mean, they could dial in. They could ramp up the Scotch bonnet a little bit more. I would not object. I love Scotch bonnets. But as this is, it really just reads. The Scotch bonnets, I think, are there for a little bit of a heat dash, but even still, they're not bringing it up very much. So maybe they're there for flavor. They are certainly a well-flavored pepper, in my view. So the meshing of the cayenne and the garlic and the pineapple and those vinegars, I think rice vinegar is something that is I think sometimes sauce makers will put it in and it won't work. Here, I think it actually works really, really well. Just a fantastic sauce. I can't say enough about it. I mean, I have no real complaints about this. I wish the garlic was roasted so it was a little bit sweeter. Really, really minor, and that preference is strictly my own. Same thing with dialing up the Scotch bonnet a little bit. Again, super minor criticism, and also that is as well my own sort of just personal preferences. But as it is, I mean, I'm gonna try to restrain myself enough so this can appear on a wing thing, because that is something I've held off playing with it on. And obviously, I would replace this label. Actually, so if you're any sauce makers out there that happen to be watching this, you can see here we got this black border. If you actually cut off like a quarter inch of the label right here, so we could get a good viewing of how much is left in the bottle, I would love that. The label ends don't need to touch. It is really, really useful and handy to be able to have that stripe that you can look at almost like a fuel gauge to see, you know, if you need to reorder or how much sauce is left. So I wish that was the case. I actually really don't like the overall label aesthetic here particularly. So, but just that minor point as far as the gap between the two label ends is something that I really, really, really wish that the hot sauce companies would incorporate into their designs. It just adds a lot more, I guess, functionality for chili heads. And if you want a fan base kind of a thing, making it easier for them to know when to get more of your stuff, I think can only be to the good. So, but yeah, this is again probably the best overall Cajun sauce I've had. Very flavorful. It actually does quite a lot for the small amount of ingredients relatively that are in there. It's delicious. This was delicious right out of the gate. In fact, when I first took a bite of it, I was like, wow, just completely flat out of the blue. Very wonderful sauce, very lovely. And Prescribed Burn, I think, is a relatively new company, so I'm really kind of interested to see what else shakes out from them going forward. But we're going to leave it there. This was the Prescribed Burn High Pulp Hot Sauce.
Now go forth in peace to serve the flame.